Hi, welcome back to Real Life Fishing. And in tonight's episode, we're going to cover how I seal the ballast in the bottom of the crankbaits. Here I've got the lead already in there, as you can see. Went and drilled the ballast holes for these and added the lead out in the garage with the lead pot. And now I'm going to cover that over and we're going to sand that up. For everybody that's still keeping score at home, tonight is Michter's American Whiskey, also excellent. So if you're a fan, that's tonight's pick. But a couple important notes then before we continue. The first is that whenever you're working with lead and you're melting lead, you want to wear a respirator. B, you want to have adequate ventilation, which is why I still do this in the garage, even though it's in the 20s up here in Wisconsin right now. That is not something that gets done in the basement workshop. That is outdoors or as close as possible. The next thing you want to make sure of is that you're wearing cotton. So when I did it, I had a cotton sweatshirt, long sleeve sweatshirt. You don't want to be wearing any kind of polyester or anything like that because the lead will melt that. And then I also wear welding gloves on the hand that's holding the bait underneath the nozzle, just in case something were to happen there and I get some on my hand. So now that we've got the important safety stuff out of the way, hopefully everybody already knew that, but we are going to take a look at how I cover that up. We've already covered sanding, so these are the products that I use to cover the ballast. You'll see me go through this, we'll demonstrate it, but I use super thin super glue, and you'll see why once we get into this, and just baking soda, regular baking soda. So let's get into this. All right, so the first important thing that you want to pay attention to before you do this is you want to make sure that when you put the lead in, if you've got a little too much and it's standing proud of the edge of the bait, you want to get that trimmed off of there. And you do not want to sand that because that will create lead dust, which is even worse. So I just trim it down with an X-Acto knife. Lead's very, very soft. So I trim it down so that it's not proud using an X-Acto knife. And I just look at the side of the lure, and then I look at it from the end to make sure that nothing is sticking up above the bottom of the lure. And ideally, I'm able to get them like this when I fill it. Right, you can see there's kind of a little divot left there, and that's fine, right? If I get a little too much, like this one here, I got a little too much. A lot of times what I'll do when I'm pouring that is I'll just tip the bait over like this. And you can see I did that here. Unfortunately, this one poured a little early. The lead wasn't quite yet as hot as I wanted. So by the time I went to tip it over, it had already, skinned over and started to set. So I just trimmed that with an X-Acto knife so that I get, slivers, not lead dust. And then clean those up so you don't get them on your hands. Also, I wear latex gloves while I'm doing this as well, of course. But yeah, so let's get started so you guys can see how I go about doing this. So the first thing I do is I use my my resin bottles to hold the baits up because they're already rounded off. So I just stick the bait in here like so to keep it upright, and then we're ready to go. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of super glue in there just to make sure that that lead stays in there. That'll soak down around the edges of the lead. Then we're going to get some baking soda. And we'll just put this on top. And it's important that you don't put too much baking soda at a time. It's also important that you don't fill the hole for your screw eye if you're pretty close to that. But you really don't want a whole lot of baking soda at one time because the glue won't saturate through enough of it. And then you'll end up with dry baking soda in between the ballast and the hard baking soda on top. And so then when you start sanding through, if you sand down and hit that layer, obviously the whole thing goes to crap and you've got to take it back to the bench and start over anyway, right? So I try and generally be pretty careful of that. Also, you don't need a whole lot of baking soda all over the lure. You really just need to make sure that you cover those ballast holes. And then we just drip a little bit on there like that. And then that hardens up pretty much instantly. There's a chemical reaction that takes place with the baking soda. So you can see that's already, I don't know if you can hear that. That's already perfectly hard and dry, right? Nothing. So this works really, really well. What you want to do is you want to just make sure that you build that up enough so that it's a little bit proud of the bottom of the bait. So that way when you're sanding, you're able to get a correct contour with the rest of the bottom of the bait, and you don't hit that lead. Because again, you don't want to create lead dust, right? So I usually build it up quite a bit. This should do it for this bait here. There we go. So I got a little bit of super glue on the sides of the bait. I don't want that to stick to anything, so I'm just going to rub that in the baking soda that's on the table to harden that up. But now if you look at the side of the lure, you can see that that baking soda area is a little bit taller than the bottom of the lure. So that allows me to sand into that, right? And like I said, that's already dry. That chemical reaction takes place with the baking soda that sets that. It accelerates the super glue. So we'll go ahead and do this other bait here real quick, and then I've got to finish sanding these and get these ready because I've got a last minute opportunity tomorrow night to test at a local hotel's indoor pool. So that's why I'm whipping these up quick, so that I've got, there's a couple changes I made to these that I'm not going to tell the public about here in this video, but a couple new changes I made that I want to test out. So I'm just whipping these up real quick here so that I've got couple extra things to test, and I will have videos of tomorrow night. We're taking the GoPros to go test, so you guys can look forward to that in a coming episode. But we've already covered how to sand baits, so I'm not going to videotape that section of this. And there we go. So you can see that the super glue and baking soda sections stand proud of the bottom of the bait a bit, so that I've got room to sand that down and get that back to contour. All right, so that's going to do it for tonight. Just a real quick one. I wanted to show you guys that. We hadn't covered that just yet, but I've got a lot more work to do on these to get them ready to go tomorrow. So I've got to sand that down, and I've got to get a super glue seal coat on there, because I'm not going to epoxy these. It won't set in time. But then I've got to get the lips and screw eyes in, and then I want to shoot them probably just jet black, so that they show up easily in the pool. But yeah, so I got a lot of work to do, and hopefully I'll get this edited and up tonight. And coming up within the next few days, look for a video of me testing those lures, and you guys can see the action of those and what those look like. So that'll do it. And once again, my goal with every video is to get one new subscriber. So if you're not subscribed, do me a favor. Down on the bottom right corner, I got that wrong last time, over there will be the subscribe button, and if you liked it, you learned something, do me a favor, click the like button. It should be down there. And thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.